Welcome back to Elements in Focus. My name is Grant Sullivan.
And I'm Aaron Rheaume.
Sorry about that, folks. We do have a slight delay as Aaron and I try to work this from our home offices in Indy and Brownsburg. But Aaron, always glad to have you here, my friend. Love doing this with you. For those who are just joining Elements of Focus for the first time, what Aaron and I and the advisors we have on the show tend to do, or try to do, is stick to our 5 critical elements. We call them the 5 pillars of planning, and kind of dissect what we can in each element. Because you have James Clear makes it pretty James Clear makes it pretty clear that success is never dependent on one thing, but failure can be. And when Aaron and I and the rest of the team break down these critical elements, what we're trying to do is nitpick little critical elements, little areas that can unwind a financial plan faster than people realize. And so today, the critical element we're going to focus on is tax planning. But more specifically in tax planning, what are your 1099s and why are they important? So, Aaron, as we get into 1099s, can you just list out a couple of those 1099s that some of our families receive so they can get an idea of why these things are so confusing?
Yeah, Grant. So some of them would be a 1099-R. So if you rolled money out of a IRA or had an IRA distribution, you would get a 1099-R. One important thing to think about there is we do have some families do qualified charitable donations, QCDs. You will get a 1099-R form for that, but it does not have your donation amount included. So we have to pay attention to that. We send out a letter to our families that do the 1099 or that do the QCDs, and that will get a 1099-R just to remind them. So some other things, if you were to have, Grant, a brokerage account or an investment account, you can get a 1099 statement that reports capital gains, capital losses. If you have interest from investments on there, you get a 1099 INT statement. There's a 1099 DIV, which is a dividend statement. So there are several 1099 forms. 1099 MISC, miscellaneous income. If you're self-employed, you could get a 1099. So I keep going.
Yeah, you can.
There's
You
just
can. And so, yeah, Aaron, to your point, there's so many types of 1099s. And when it comes to, and we'll break this out into 2 categories, when it comes to being self-employed, we often kind of look down, I wouldn't say look down, but individuals that get 1099s, it's easy to say, listen, I don't get the same tax benefits. I'm paying for my own health care. I'm paying both sides of Social Security and Medicare. This income is really tough to make it being self-employed. But here's what we know: a 1099 from that aspect gives you a lot of leverage according to the tax code. Remember, there's 2 tax codes. People think it's the rich and poor. That's incorrect. It's for the informed and uninformed. So having a 1099 from self-employment is actually what Aaron and I would consider a golden egg that we can really use for planning if done properly. And the other piece to the 1099s that Aaron will bring out, if you have investments through the form of a brokerage account or through IRAs and Roth IRAs, those 1099s are critical from a tax planning perspective. And to Aaron's point, for those families that we work with, you're going to get letters ahead of time before you file with your CPA or tax representative on if you did a QCD, so you don't miss out on taking that QCD off of your required minimum distribution so it doesn't show up as income. But also, if you're going to work with an advisor, make sure they're sending stuff to your tax professionals or CPAs, because it's our job to make sure the correct story gets told through all these documents. It is confusing. We have lots of conversations with our families, barring tax season and tax time. But don't forget, these 1099s are critically important. And if there's something wrong on one of them and it's not caught ahead of time, it could be a costly mistake either through a fine or through a refiling. So make sure you're working with a true tax fiduciary who understands your situation, who's paying attention to these documents, because like we said, the last thing we want is for you to receive income that you weren't necessarily anticipating that could wreck the overall plan. So Aaron, thank you for spending time going through this. If you have questions or you want to go through a next steps meeting with a fiduciary like Financial Enhancement Group, please give us a call, 800-928-4001. Talk to FEG at yourlifeafterwork.com, or you can find a lot more material on our website at yourlifeafterwork.com as well. And if you're looking for more in-depth conversations, just more content to digest, there's lots of it out there from us, from articles to our Consider This program, which can be found on any podcasting service near you. We're also there on every Saturday morning on the radio stations down below. But thank you for spending time with Ann and I today on this recording. We really appreciate you being here. We look forward to seeing you next time.